Alright, so I have a video from the new head of the EPA, Lee Zeldin, and I'm going to try not to get triggered here. I'm already triggered. I already watched it, and this guy's a fucking... So we're going to watch this video, and I'm going to show you why you shouldn't trust this guy, why this guy is a fraud, a crook, and completely unqualified and should be nowhere near the head of the Environmental Protection Agency. So, let's watch, and then we will expose. And I also might bring ChatGPT in for a special guest appearance to fact check some stuff. All right.
Hi, this is EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. One of my very top priorities at EPA is to be an excellent steward of your hard-earned tax dollars. There will be zero tolerance of any waste and abuse.
Dude, it's like someone just taught Republicans a new word. And it's, you know, when you, like, a kid learns a new word and it's the only word they keep saying? Waste, fraud, and abuse. That's like Republicans right now. They use it for everything. The first thing the head of the EPA says is, my number one priority basically is to make sure that I'm going to be a steward of your tax money. You're the head of the EPA. Protect the fucking environment. But as we'll look at his record here in a bit, he's not going to.
An extremely disturbing video circulated 2 months ago featuring a Biden EPA political appointee talking about how they were tossing gold bars off the Titanic, rushing to get billions of your tax dollars out the door before Inauguration Day. The gold bars were tax dollars, and tossing them off the Titanic meant the Biden administration knew they were wasting it. Following this revelation, during my meetings with members of Congress, I made a very important commitment to them and to the American people, which I reiterated at my confirmation hearing that if confirmed, I would immediately get a full accounting. Fortunately, my awesome team at EPA has found the gold bars. Shockingly, roughly 20 billion of your tax dollars were parked at an outside financial institution by the Biden EPA. This scheme was the first of its kind in EPA history, and it was purposefully designed to obligate all of the money in a rush job with reduced oversight. Even further, this pot of $20 billion was...
I thought you guys were about, like, efficiency and getting rid of bureaucracy and, like, all these fucking red tapes. I thought, like, your whole thing was, like, let's get this fucking shit going. Like, why do we have to have all these regulations and fucking oversight? Like, stop fucking, like, just let me do my thing. Sorry.
Was awarded to just 8 entities that were then responsible for doling out your money to NGOs and others at their discretion with far less transparency. Just under $7 billion was sent to one entity called the Climate United Fund. I'm sure you and I now have some of the same questions.
Yeah, why the fuck are you the head of the EPA?
How do these organizations decide how to allocate funding? How much money have they given out so far and to whom? Are there any former Biden EPA staffers who are now working at these entities? Let me make one thing abundantly clear. At this point, there is zero reason to suspect any wrongdoing by the bank. Here's my position as EPA administrator. The financial agent agreement with the bank needs to be instantly terminated, and the bank must immediately return all of the gold bars that the Biden administration tossed off the Titanic. EPA needs to reassume responsibility for all of these funds. We will review every penny that has gone out the door. I will be referring this matter to the Inspector General's office and will work with the Justice Department as well. The days of irresponsibly shoveling boatloads of cash to far-left activist groups in the name of environmental justice and climate equity are over. The American public deserves a more transparent and accountable government than what...
Why does being a climate activist have to be some crazy far-left fucking lunacy position to them? Being a climate activist should be like the most center position you can have. Like, you can look at the science and the data indicating that, yeah, we have a climate problem here. There's some weird shit happening that's never happened before. We're breaking records like left and right. So, yeah, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, should be giving contracts out to, as we'll go into, these nonprofit climate organizations who then use that to fund like better projects, renewable energy projects, just anything that helps our environment. Like, is that crazy?
What transpired these past 4 years? We take our obligations under the law as seriously as it gets. I've directed my team to find your gold bars, and they found them. Now we will get them back inside of control of government as we pursue next steps. As President Trump has vowed, we are going to usher in a new golden age of American success for the citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed.
This guy's such a fraud, man. And he says, you know, we found the gold bars and they are now being recovered for you, the hardworking American taxpayer. How do people fall for this shit? They're not being recovered for us. That 20 billion was going to go for far better causes than whatever the fuck he's going to do with it. If anything, they just want to freeze all the funding. So this whole thing about they were throwing gold bars off their Titanic, yeah, they were trying to fucking save the money by getting it off the sinking ship, which is now the U.S. government, and who they knew that they were going to fucking appoint some clown to the EPA who doesn't believe in environmental protection, as we're going to get to in a minute. So yeah, they were trying to dish it out as quickly as they can to actually go to a good cause before you guys froze it and slashed it. But yeah, you got 20 billion back for the hardworking American taxpayer. 20 billion is like, it's not even half a percentage point of our entire budget. Are you going to take this 20 billion? Or are you going to use it to fund a single payer or just a free healthcare system for Americans? You're going to use it to house homeless people, a lot of them being veterans? No. No, you're not. Because you're a fraud. And I have an article from AP. We're not going to read it. I just have a few things highlighted. So the program approved under the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act is formally known as the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, but is more commonly called the Green Bank. Two initiatives worth $14 billion and $6 billion, respectively, are intended to offer competitive grants to nonprofits, community development banks, and other groups for projects with a focus on disadvantaged communities. The money has already been awarded to 8 nonprofits, including the Coalition for Green Capital, Climate United Fund, Power Forward Communities, Opportunity Finance Network, Inclusive, and the Justice Climate Fund. These organizations have partnered with a wide range of groups, including Rewiring America, Habitat for Humanity, and the Community Preservation Corporation. And so these are all nonprofit groups, and this guy's going to try to take government money that was awarded to them, and he's going to make them try to pay it back. This is the reason why people don't trust the government, because you'll have one administration dish out this money, dish out these grants, and then you'll have the next administration come in and take it and revert it. There's a lot of cases of farmers now losing their farms because they're not getting grant money that was, that they've been receiving or were promised under laws passed by the Biden administration. And when Trump put his federal freeze, they got screwed. They're still screwed. And they made like improvements and upgrades and did a lot to their farms based on grants that were already agreed to that were supposed to go to their farm. And now the government's not going to pay out on those grants. Like, these people are the reason why people hate the government. They want you to hate the government. Unreal. So let's look at this clown's record. First, let's look at his national environmental scoreboard. He gets a 14%. 14%. That's crazy. But let's look at some of his a little bit more of his record. So Zeldin's vote for only 31 of 215 bills to protect the environment. So let's skim over these. Zeldin has repeatedly voted to end Clean Air Act standards. Same day, Zeldin voted for greater regulations of PFAS chemicals. Okay, so he made a good vote there, while he also voted against closing a loophole in the Clean Water Act that permits companies to discharge limited amounts of PFAS. So he votes for greater regulations of PFAS, and then he instantly votes against closing a loophole in the Clean Water Act that allows for companies to flood our water with PFAS. What the fuck? Zeldin voted for 17 bills that make it more difficult for the government to inform the public about health risk of toxic chemicals. Wow. Shortly before the 2016 election, Zeldin conveniently joined the Bipartisan Climate Solutions Caucus, but he refused to sign its 2017 letter to Trump urging him not to abandon the Paris Climate Agreement. Yeah. Delivers for donors. Zeldin has accepted $170,000 in contributions from pesticide manufacturers and major polluters. What the fuck? Zeldin voted to prevent local governments like Suffolk County from adopting its own pesticide rules, even rules to restrict spraying toxins harmful to kids, such as, I don't know what that is, in or near school parks and playgrounds. He voted against that. Zeldin voted twice to prohibit the EPA from enforcing rules requiring oil and gas companies to reduce methane pollution. During the 2019 government shutdown, Zeldin voted against reopening the USDA and the FDA, the two agencies responsible for food safety. And that's just on the environment. Overall, this guy has been accused, I think, of 2 counts of election fraud, where he was like emailing or mailing voters the incorrect dates for absentee ballots. Like, what are we doing? Zeldin voted to block an amendment, the Swamp Flyers Act, to ensure that senior political appointees do not spend their tax dollars on private travel. 2 days. Oh yeah, he also defended Trump's car. You remember when there was these white supremacist Nazi groups in Charlottesville, and Trump was like, "I'm sure there's very fine people on both sides." He defended that comment. As a congressman and U.S. Army officer, Zeldin swore to support and defend the Constitution of the U.S. against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Yeah, he voted against 21 bills to investigate foreign hacking of U.S. elections in 2016. Yeah, and this is from LeeZeldinRecord.com. It's an interesting place. This guy's just a fraud. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You can't trust anything he says. So I want to bring ChatGPT in real quick to just kind of look up these groups. So I'm going to do this live. So can you tell me about the following groups and if they are legitimate or fraudulent? And then not legitimist, legitimate. I can't spell. Okay. And then these groups. I don't need you to give me, we'll just wait for the summary. I'm not going to read all that right now, but you can pause and read. There is no evidence to suggest that these organizations are fraudulent. They are legitimate entities with established track records in their respective fields. Yeah, so they just claim that any policy or anything that they don't like is fraud. That's all they do. It's as simple as that. Uh, yeah, it's just sad, man. Uh, it just when we are facing climate events like we've never seen before, and the person in charge of the EPA has a 14% score from for the National Environmental Scorecard. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? So yeah, when they knew the administration coming in, I'd be trying to throw the gold bars off the Titanic too, if I'm being honest with you. I'd be trying to dish that out to it's money that's approved by Congress, by the way, and the head of the EPA at the time, the EPA administration at the time, could do what they want with that money, and they toss it out. And now he just wants to go to these groups and try to take it back because he doesn't agree with what they're doing, and he'll just make up lies and misinformation about it. It's just their standard playbook. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below, and if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.